at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding a voice and control.
Good morning, Hive. I hope everybody slept great. Long time no see. I am very excited to be back in the Hive bright and early. I hope everybody's got their cup of coffee and they are excited for a fun and relaxing weekend. Last night, after I streamed, I was stoked to see that the Packers whooped that ass. So anybody that's a Bears fan or a Lions fan or a Vikings fan, suck it. Somebody in the Hive last night, I was like, I don't want to know the score. I'm going to rewatch it. They're like, Packers are losing 54-7. And it was really hard to not Google the score just to make sure that I wasn't about to waste my time watching them get beat up that bad. But nonetheless, I am very excited for this morning's theme, as I believe that this is something that everybody can listen to and apply in their own lives. It's not just going to be about the Idaho 4. It's going to be the system and how cases like this, high profile cases, are just another stepping stone for the entire system. So tell me this, how is this case so closed off, but the system has accelerated? Does that make any sense? And you should think to yourself, when we are told, do not trust what you see, do not hear what you heard, and don't believe what you read, yet the DNA, IgG, AI, predictive criminal programs, or whatever you want to call them, get stronger with zero transparency. That should be like, this is DEFCON 5. We need to talk about this. Because if we don't talk about it, we're never going to be able to escape it. And if you don't know what it is, if you don't know what it is, you don't know how to recognize it, and you don't know how to identify it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about not just the Idaho 4, but we're going to look from a 40,000 foot view and see how this is just closing in on us faster than ever. And so I'm going to say what's up to everybody. UFO Dog, Berdino, and the Hizzy for Shizzy. Cheers to Friday. Thank you to my middy witty friend 1111. Dark Ritual Coffee, love it. Where is Dark Ritual? Did you say that was out in California? Vikings fan here. Sorry. I do like your guy's quarterback though. He's cool. I was a big fan of him at Michigan. Donna, yes, working from home, man. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I have some days where I can have like a half day at home and work remote, but I got to get out and about. I can't look at my screen that much, even just since I've started streaming. I feel like my eyes, they're just, and I can't wear these glasses. These are like blue light glasses. If you don't wear those and you work from home, you should. Blue light messes up a lot of stuff biologically. Is that the right word? But yeah, whenever I put them on, my hat like sits up too high. So I think I might have to switch to like earbuds. And you are absolutely right, Stone. Let's set the tone with this comment. If you don't know that America was infiltrated by the Germans with the Federal Reserve and the Nazi CIA, that's like a base level understanding of how long this has been going on. Beck, what up? Shout out to my mod. UK Karen's in here, and she says, hi, Discord Dawn. So where's Discord Dawn at? What up? What's Gucci, my Louie? What's Gucci, my Luna? That work? Kind of works. Oh, it's in Fate, Texas. Nice. Not an NPC, stay-at-home mom here, and this is my only adult conversation. Have you seen that video? Have you seen that video that went viral? It was like just a short clip. It was like a mom that was hiding in a pantry for a snack. And then you see like the little kid's like hands, almost like a cat that's trying to like open the door from underneath, get in. And she's like, this is the only place I can go. This is my me time now. I'm having a snack in my pantry with the door shut. Ayo, Beckstats, what's up? Yeah, JJ McCarthy just seems like a super wholesome dude. I was super impressed with the fact that he would go out onto the field and like meditate and walk barefoot. I'm into all that shit. So I wasn't in college. You know, I only learned about it after the fact. So the fact he was doing it at such a young age, I can see why he was balling out. I've been at work in North Carolina. Yeah, in the pantry. Zombie hands. They still find your snacks. That's funny. What's up? Christie's foil is tinned. Man. Well, as you guys know, Foxy Lady says my boyfriend Thielen's back in purple. Wasn't he like a lacrosse player? I don't think he played football until maybe 2 years into college. Those stories are always crazy. Not to just go on like a sports talk here, but I find it remarkable when, you know, you see these people that are some of the best at the pro level. It doesn't matter what sport. It could be basketball, it could be baseball, volleyball, whatever it is, football. And it's like, hang on. You're telling me that you made it to the NFL and you didn't start playing football until your junior year in college. You're telling me that you were walking around with that much raw talent and athleticism, like millions of dollars worth of raw talent and athleticism, and you just nobody said, hey, you should try out for the team. And then it's like you do, and next thing you know, your entire life's changed and you're traveling around, you're playing at a pro level. I always think those stories are so cool and also just confusing at the same time. How does that happen? Foosball's the devil. I have a Waterboy jersey. I should put that on one day again. me and Dana and some other members in the Hive are working on our new merch line, and I was like, oh no, like that might be the end of the jersey era. But we're working on trying to get some jerseys, or at least like tank tops. So all right. Well, Hive, here what I want to get into today is, see this part up here where I said coming soon to a city near you. I've noticed this pattern. I've used the term same crime or same script, different crime. And if you've watched the news recently, not just in the last week, but leading up in the last few months, have you ever noticed, or have you noticed the uptick in the talk about things like Gideon, Palantir, AI? I don't really watch the news on my television, so let me clarify that. But I do scroll on X. I see shit on TikTok or Reddit and things like that. There is a huge uptick in that talk on just like when we were talking about Minnesota with that pew pew, or I guess I could say shooting on YouTube. That was the TikTok self-censor algorithm coming out. But they talked about how, oh, I wish my system would have been live. We would have stopped this. And it's like, wow, how coincidental is it that the guy who owns an AI company that scrapes all of our internets 24/7 and is piloting it with local law enforcement all over the country just so happens to get a primetime morning spot to talk about how he could have prevented it? Like, come on. Things like that. And if you've ever worked in media, you know that what's the word I'm looking for? Their stories, their segments, they're planned out decently far in advance. So to have that happen and at the drop of the hat to have this guy in a suit, tie in studio or ready to go and talk about it, I mean, they knew who to call when that all went down to make that talking point, which to me, that's when my red flags go off in my mind. I'm like, see, there's a reason they called that guy. They could have called, an ex-teacher who has survived a situation like that. They could have called, a parent who their child was in a previous school shooting. They could have gotten so many other types of people, but yet they go and they get the owner of a AI predictive scraping technology that's going to scrape all of our internets 24/7 and then report you to your local police if you identify behaviors that make you look like a threat. And I might be in the minority on this. There's a lot of rhetoric on the internet in general. Doesn't matter the topic. Could be all the way from, hate rhetoric to, oh, the NFL is scripted rhetoric, or the NBA, they got magnets in the rims. So like, you guys get my point. I don't feel like there's that much, and I could be arrogant when I say this, but it's like the way that they're talking about scraping the internet, it's like they're scraping social media sites that would already block that type of talk. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like they're on the surface level. They're saying like, we could have prevented it. Now, I understand that person did post a video with the bullets. So yes, but how was that not reported with the current thing? How are people not reporting that? That video, people were like, oh my God, look at after the fact this dude posted it. Like, clearly people are following him. Like, why is nobody saying anything? And because nobody says anything and nobody talks about this stuff, we all end up, it's like the analogy of the frogs in a boiling pot of water. They don't jump out. And that's something too that I want to discuss and that I would challenge everybody. Actually, before I challenge everybody to do something, I want to see what the Hive says about this in the chat. And have you ever been out in public and you've seen something happening where Mr. Smixon, sorry, don't tell me what to do. My bad. I'm not. It's rather just a phrase of speech. But have you ever been out in public and you've seen something happening? Maybe like there's a little tussle going on, or maybe there's somebody that's doing something that's disturbing other people, but they continue to disturb other people and nobody says anything. They just let it go on because nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants to be that guy. You know, you're not that guy. I think that alone in our society is like when you see behavior that is not going on. When did that stop? When did it stop? You know, that there's a certain like code of unwritten rules when it comes to like how you behave in public. It has nothing to do with impeding on freedoms or speech, but when you're being a disturbance and it's obvious, just a general like, hey, knock it off. But then it always escalates. And you start looking at it and it's like, well, if no one's going to say anything or do anything, it opens the door for people like these AI predictive criminal behaviors. They're like, well, nobody reported that guy. He posted bullets on a story and he apologized to his family. It's clearly very odd. How does nobody report that to the cops? And so there's I mean, that's good. It's good. Apparently a lot of people are that person. And I'm not saying that I'm not, but it's like, I think there is an aspect of, well, you don't know how much the person, at least in my mind, whenever I see it, I think to myself, all right, I'm here with my wife. You know, is it worth me putting both of us in danger because I felt like I needed to stop something that in reality, it's just annoying. I don't know if that person's going to escalate it to the point where me saying something is like the last string or the last straw that broke the camel's back. You know, so I don't think, yeah, exactly. That, Caleb, great thing. If it doesn't affect you, don't interfere. Now, it's a little bit different depending on what type of escalation is happening, right? You know, I think that those social experiment videos are mind-blowing. If you've not seen those social experiment where they're on a busy street and there's a female walking and a guy runs up and tries to kidnap her. Now that they're doing this in a crowded area to see how people react. Dude, it's kind of disturbing how many people just turn their head and walk away. Like you just saw a woman get snatched off the street and put into a car. Yeah, like Luna, I don't know. Yeah, Luna's seen it. So it's like nobody does anything. So I can bring it back to the Idaho 4 case. Why isn't anybody saying anything? You know, why isn't anybody talking about it? And when that happens, these systems, they gain so much power. And I don't know. It really drives me up a wall whenever I see that happening. And it's very obvious. It's a scripted playbook to get people and their fear and their emotions heightened. Let us come in and save the day. You guys don't have to do anything. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. As a reminder, if you've not hit that subscribe button, please do. That is the best way to support the channel. I did not give my disclaimer yet, but I will real quick here. Welcome to the Hive Mind. This is a contrarian thinking live stream where if you are afraid to think past the headlines and you're easily rattled or offended on behalf of others, this will not be the stream for you, as we are contrarian and critical thinkers in here. And our goal is to not discuss the necessary not necessarily the personal opinions of people, but rather the 40,000 foot idea on why is this happening? Who benefits from this happening? So that's what we do here. We look into it. We try to see why the mainstream media would push a certain narrative. And if that sounds like you, or if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, welcome to the Hive. We are happy to have you here. All of my links are in my YouTube channel, so just press more links. I got birdieBombshell.com, my TikTok. Discord would probably be the one that I would encourage you to join the most, as that is where I pull the Discord question of the day and the Hive Mind finds from. And then I also have recently gotten a Facebook page and an Instagram. So even if you are mainly following me on YouTube, I would say if you use Facebook or Instagram and you got 2 seconds, go ahead and click like and follow on that. And it helps the algorithm get the word out for those, as those are brand new in the last couple of weeks. So I appreciate everybody that does that. Now, Rayanne had a question that flows perfectly into what I've been talking about, which is why would law enforcement put this stuff out that it makes seem stupid as hell? Idaho State Police, FBI included by the documents. I would love to know what an attorney would say after reading all this. Yes, bad judge. So the point that I'm going to make answering this question is kind of like what I got with this picture here. Sometimes I believe that the cops are in the matrix themselves. There's nothing more disheartening to me when I see a so-called expert attorney. And I'll use the example that Devil's Advocates told about being at CrimeCon, where the prosecutor's like, and the only thing Idaho didn't do, they should have killed that guy. Tell me that you're either being paid by Othram, you're in on the entire thing, or ever since you got your degree, you haven't studied a damn thing. That's concerning. This is not a knock on individuals that are doctors, lawyers, dentists, anesthesiologists, anything that you are looked at as a figure of trust or authority, but rather the professions in whole when it comes to. Think of how many people go to college. They spend all that time, that money. Let's use a family doctor, for example. They spend all that time and money and they go get their degree. They bust their ass. Do you think the majority of them would want to continue to read and learn? Or do you feel like they would probably say, for how long? 5, 10 years? Well, what I learned is probably still relevant. And that's something that like my wife and I have really tried to do is we try to find like younger people that are in our network for insurance, just because we feel like we both had experiences with doctors that are toward the end of their career. This is not all of them. Obviously, there's like pros. There are people that throughout their career, they're extremely motivated to continue to learn. But I don't know if anybody in here has had an experience how I'm about to describe it. It's like, you're telling me something to do that is very outdated, relatively obviously outdated. And if you got on the internet, there's people in your field that are extremely accredited that are saying to not do exactly what you're telling me to do. And it could be things like root canals. It can be things like, like you guys remember like the whole rice thing, I believe that it was called. If you sprain your ankle, like rest, ice, compression, elevate. That's not what you should do anymore. If you're an athlete, you should actually apply heat and you should move. And there's things like dry needle acupuncture that can move it around and loosen all this up and get the ligaments and the muscles and everything moving. And by moving it and working out the swelling, instead of just sitting there, restricting the blood flow and elevating it, that you're actually going to heal faster by moving around and doing something. So it's little things like that that used to drive me up a wall. And I don't know if it's just like being an ex-athlete, the technology that we would get, at least at the school that I went to was pretty cool. Like we had helmets that had sensors in it that if you got hit too hard, there's a staff member on the sidelines that had an iPad and it would light up next to your number or your name and you'd have to come out for a play. Now, as a player, you hate that. That's frustrating. Nobody wants to come out for a play when you're fine. But when you think about parents, or I even look back now, being 10 years removed, 12 years removed. And I had to come out one time. Well, I was concussed and I didn't really feel like I had to come out, but because of that technology, while yes, it was minor, I didn't go and make it any worse. And so there's things like that where it's like, okay, how many people even knew that? But a lot of people still think back to, the CTE stuff. I'm making a point here. I'll get to it in a second. I have to talk through this, like the CTE stuff in football, for example. When those studies came out about those players, I mean, you guys remember Sean Taylor? Was he the linebacker that kind of kicked off the entire CTE thing with Will Smith, where he had shot himself in the heart so that they could study his brain? I mean, and those images of his brain were just, it was crazy. But now, in a weird way, is that data outdated? Youth helmets from when Sean Taylor played football, and I hope that I'm getting that right. Was it Sean Taylor or no? Football player. Junior Seau. Okay, just factually. So Junior Seau, when he grew up playing youth football and then went to the NFL, Junior Seau's helmets were like egg cartons. They were literally like an air egg carton. Now the technology is so much different. The helmets are lighter for youth kids. They have these pads in it. They have this and that. So it's like, is that CTE data even valid anymore if what these kids are wearing on their heads no longer are heavy enough, if they start playing at the proper age, where their heads will snap back and hit the ground? That was what a lot of it was caused from. So that's actually something I'm extremely passionate about, is like, what is the relative data to what you're arguing? And I think that you can apply it to what Rayanne asked. Are cops just going along with this new technology without understanding what it really does? And I think a lot of them do. I really do. I think a lot of officials go along with what they're told to do, and they don't necessarily understand it. Is anybody in here by chance like a nurse or a doctor? I agree. Good morning, Cody. How you doing, brother? Oh, geez. Oh, for not wearing the helmet that was made specially for him. Wow. Okay, so I used to sell like my first job out of college. I would travel around and I would do a bunch of in-servicing for nurses. And we would sell attachments to beds and stretchers and chairs that would help prevent bed sores, pressure injuries on your tailbone. When I would do the in-service, I'm looking back at it, and I know myself, and I was trained. But what was my training? Well, my education, I had a kinesiology background. Originally was going to try to be a chiropractor. Father got sick, didn't want to go to school, wanted to stay closer to home. Ended up pursuing football in college rather than pursuing school. I pursued medical device sales after college. And while, yes, I knew about the human body, I don't know the outputs of what a hospital network would do. I'm not a nurse, but I go to a 3-week training class and I come out. I'm 22 years old. I'm walking into hospitals, educating night shift staff. And again, I felt like I took the training serious, but I didn't research that. I'm just regurgitating whatever my company told me to do. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. And then, I don't even know how to say that, but I'm also like, that's how so many systems work. Is I got hired in order for me to keep my job. I go to this training. Everybody drinks the Kool-Aid of the new company they work at. They go onto the field extremely excited, feeling very confident on what they were just told because their company told them. And then they go into the field, and I can't tell you the number of times that, I would be questioned. Like, well, why would we do that? And I don't know the why, because I was still so new at that point. And it's regurgitation. I agree with that, Z. I agree with that. Me and Mrs. Birdie have had to talk about trying to like hypothesize about like if we had a baby this year, by the time they went to school, let's just say 18, that would be 2043. Our 4-year degree is going to be a thing in 2043. You can learn anything you want to right now, typing it into ChatGPT, looking up YouTube videos from tutors. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that in the Hive that have maybe younger kids? Do you think that college as we know it right now? And I'm not saying that there's not. I think college is a great experience. I also don't think that college is necessary to be successful. I think there was a time when it was leveraged to get hired was what's your degree? And then you start looking at all the strings that are pulled, and the university's donors come from these big corporations. And then you can see how the spider web connects to that. But I tried to get my little brother to do that too. Our neighbor is an extremely successful, this is back at my parents' house, but he's an extremely successful electrician. And he made the switch to doing that after having a corporate job at like when he was like 28, 29, and he got an apprenticeship being an electrician. And now he's got like 70 vans that he's I guess, I don't know if that's called a franchised out, but he's got like 70 vans that are out every day. And I think that the trades, I mean, dude, it's hard work, but it's going to boom if it's not already. I have a couple buddies that are in the trades and they do extremely well. What up, Vanilla Spice? I've been doing a Friday morning and like Saturday brunch time streams. A little bit smaller of a chat, much more interactive. I personally love the Friday mornings. Don't get me wrong, I love all the streams, but I think these conversations are awesome, and I get to I can read the messages. More kids need to get into the trades. College degrees are meaningless for most majors. And yeah. I just think that there's an abundance of information at our fingertips more than ever. Yeah, the Discord dog, probably the mods like, yes, Fridays are so chill. UFO dog said the same thing. What up, Sinful Biatch 420? Exactly. College no longer needed for majority of careers. I believe law, medical, even accounting type careers will start to require traditional education of some sort. The other thing that I look back at college being 4 years for your bachelor's. I think what is it? It's 2 years associates, 4 years bachelor. What is it for master's? 6, and then doctorate is 8 to 10. And where I'm going with that. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought so too. Oh, 3-year masters. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're right. See. So, anyways, you guys get my point. But how weird is it? So, I found this so crazy. I was the first person in my family to go and get a 4-year degree. My dad did not go to college, and my mom went back to school after they had kids, and she did a 2-year degree for nursing. My mom actually just retired on September 1st, which is awesome. She loved her being a nurse. And my dad was actually a gun salesman. Sketchy story how he kind of got that job. He used to work at a lumber yard when he was younger, and 2 guys came in and recruited him after he had helped them get their lumber order and tools delivered to the site that they were building their warehouse. And I remember my grandpa was just extremely suspicious. He was a Milwaukee police officer at the time. And he's like, so you're telling me that 2 guys just came into the lumber yard and recruited this 20-year-old kid to come work for them and sell guns? But where I'm going with that is I was shocked when I got to college, and the first 2 years are gen ed. And it's like, hang on, didn't I just do K through 12 of general education? Now I'm going to go into X amount of student debt over the course of 2 years to do 101 classes or 100 level classes. It blew my mind. And then the other thing is I personally never skipped classes. I'm not trying to sound like a goody two-shoe. I personally never did, because I remember sitting down with my mom and she was helping me do the paperwork for my student loans and seeing the estimated cost of it. And that would always pop into my head, like the future me. If I would, when I would come out with student debt, I'm like, I would kick myself in the ass if I have, tens of thousands of dollars of debt fresh out of college and I didn't even go to the classes. I personally went to him because of that feeling. But they should have a 2-year adulting school between high school and college. Adulting includes. Why is that not a thing? Z for president. That's actually a top dog thought right there. There's a reason they don't teach us that, Z. B. Randy J says, in nursing, a BSN is required to work at certain facilities and is not paid any more than a nurse with an associate degree. So an extra 30 grand for a degree with no extra pay. Wow. I knew there were some hospitals. Just my sister is following in my mother's footsteps and becoming a nurse. And I know that my sister, if she signed a contract with a certain hospital network or an IDN, that they would either, I don't think it's pay back the school, but they would pay for furthering the education. I don't know if anybody can speak on that, but I think that that's a great incentive for a company. If you wanted to continue your education, like, hey, you're going to work for us for the next 6 years, commit to working for us for 6 years, and we will help you further your education. My understanding is that the nursing field is going through some weird shit right now, but maybe I don't know. When I was, your company does that, Don? Are people fans of that? Do you feel like that helps maintain like good help? Because I feel like if I was running a business, most people that I think would want to continue and further their education are probably going to be pretty good employees. Yeah. That's what Mrs. Birdie's mother does. So my mother-in-law does that. And tell you that some of those 6-month contracts, I mean, she was saying she would be making more in a half year during that travel nursing period than she would make in a year and some couple months. I mean, you went to school for veterinary medicine, but made more money in the restaurant business. I have heard that so many times. And that's not, but isn't that weird? So it's like, and they love it at their, yeah. And isn't it odd how like, let me go back to Potsy McPots 3 comment. So went to veterinary medicine school, but was making more money at the restaurant business with no degree. Now think of, I'm not saying everybody, but think of the general social thought process on that. When you hear, oh, I'm going to vet school, and then let's say like you're having a conversation with a stranger, but you're like, I actually chose to continue to work at the restaurant because I'm making more money. There's this disconnect. And you really start to think about, well, what would enhance your quality of life? And there's some people that don't work a job for money, absolutely. But there has to be a balance of like fulfillment, social acceptance, unfortunately, and income. It's like you get to pick two. You can't have all three. It's almost like when you're closing a sale and it's like, well, they say that's too expensive. And you're like, well, okay, I can do it faster. You know what? I'm not going to butcher this. It's like the faster, but less quality, or slower and more expensive sales close. Let me read this to you because this is, you only get to pick two. This is super interesting. You can apply this to almost everything. And it's like, well, if you want it cheap and fast, it's not going to be quality. And if you want it quality, it's not going to be fast, nor is it going to be cheap. Is, I believe, yeah, fast, cheap, good, exactly. Realized this on vacation in Tennessee last week. I'm a certified medical assistant at a medical office. I've only been to one ever Buc-ee's, and Mrs. Birdie made me take a picture of her outside of it, and I had no idea that Buc-ee's was such a craze of a gas station. And you walk in, it's like, hold on, you can make $60,000 being a manager, an assistant manager at those gas station chains, and it's like, that's great money if you are somebody that is wanting to have an income and a job. Like, you get benefits. It's just, and not many people expect that. And then it's like, but you get hired by this giant firm, and it's like, we will pay you $25,000 plus commission. You don't get benefits, and you are, or like, if you've ever worked a commission job, it's like they will give you enough money to put gas in your car, and then you can eat ice cubes between bread for dinner until you sell something. And they were going to say, well, the upside is huge. You know, I have a love-hate with commission-based jobs because I don't think that this is just me personally. If I'm to sit at an office for 8 hours and it's salary pay, the way that my brain works is, well, I don't want to only have 3 hours of work and have to stretch it into 8 hours. And I also don't want to have 12 hours of work and cram it into 8 hours. My grandpa was telling me this analogy. And so I'm like, well, if you're a commission-based job and you only have 3 hours of work, you work the 3 hours and that's it. And if you have 12 hours, okay, well, that sucks. And you do that so that you get the 3-hour days. I don't know if everybody feels that way, but in general, there's a lot of busy work that goes on in these degree type fields. My mom used to talk about with nursing that the charting has gotten so out of control for a patient that patient care, if you're not like cognitively aware, your focus starts to be on how do you chart versus what a nurse is. And that's to give care and to, make people feel comfortable and help heal. What is, I'm just curious, like, I'm curious, like, what does everybody do for work in the Hive? Let's see some of the careers in here, and let's see some of the job types. Is there anybody that's, business owners? Anybody that, I saw somebody's tattoo artist. I think that's awesome. You're about to go to trade school to be a welder. Not NPC says diesel mechanics make a ton of money. Are those, this is a stupid question. I'm assuming diesel mechanics, besides just working on diesel engines, but I'm assuming that's probably more like heavy machinery. If you just had your workload to be perfect, it's at, yeah, that's what Mrs. Birdie says all the time too. Quality control in a concrete company, unemployed princess, RN. You own an advertising agency. You teach babies. That's cool. My aunt has a business. She left being a nurse to go and to start a company that talks about, you know, teaching babies at a young age. Engineer, doing paperwork, a lot of paperwork. eLearn, are your developer for the state of Texas. Rant retired. Congratulations. Luna, you guys own a restaurant. That's cool. What kind of food you guys sell? You're a musician and a stay-at-home dog mom. Goals. Oh, yeah. Mortgage company branch manager and manager of my model actress daughter, who is currently state queen. Wow. Wow, that's awesome. Hand embroidery, small business owner, self-employed financial advisor. Good for you. Accountant, ops manager for tech sales. Personal chef. What's your best dish, Lori? Massage therapist. Doing God's work right there. I absolutely, when I go get a massage, and I might be psychotic for this, but it's like I want it to like be in pain and not feel relaxing and feel the relief like days later after the soreness goes away. You're at a honey petting zoo, rich off honey. Is that for bees? Like people come and see all the bees make the honey? Marissa's a mechanic. Nice. Nonprofit consultant, affordable housing, specialist for electronics company. You make circuit boards. Man, wasn't there, or was that, did you guys get affected by that whole, is it Taiwan with the computer chips? Wasn't there something that was about how it only was coming from like one country? You're number one in keeping libraries, digital, and physical media live. You're a data nerd. 11 from the one conversation that you and I had, I could tell you're like super organized person. Ooh, you wanted to be in forensics. That'd be fun. Karen, you're from the UK. What would you say is like the number one trade job in the UK? Is it similar to here in the States? Like electrician? I don't even know what it is. Electrician, construction, things like that. You grow grass. Like sod? Paralegal for all female. Pizza, wings, homemade comfort food. Love that. That's awesome. Oh, okay. Great question, Z. So now what would your dream job be? This is why I love Fridays, because it's much more dialect and engaging. Kind of have a natural conversation and a flow. Caleb, you could have some extremely creative business cards about growing grass. In the UK, it's electrician. UFO would be rock star. Tattooing or singing full times. Artist, makeup artist, behavioral therapist. Smokeless sod. Instagram model. What else is everybody else's dream job? Psychologist, forensics. Forensics or pet sitter, maybe zoo worker, anthropologist. I mean, it's kind of crazy how everybody's got a dream job. Oh, midwife. Forensics. There's a lot. That's like the fourth forensics that I've seen. Wow. Like biz tech, like would that be like AI, Lily? Right? Right? That's hilarious. You always want to be an officer. Well, one day, what about me? Um, I've always said that I would like to do some sort of like I want to be a business owner in general. Like I genuinely like the aspects of creating a successful business from scaling to employees to a product that, makes people's lives tangibly better. Like I've always been fascinated with the tangible trade-off of this product is tangibly making my life better because there's a profit in it and therefore I can benefit off that. But by you spending the money on this product, it's also helping you and tangibly helping you. So you got something in return. I enjoy businesses like that. But if I had to pick another one, I've always really wanted to be like an artist. I don't know if you guys have seen like this Marilyn Monroe. You know what? I'll show you guys it. So, like I bought this and I like drew this I drew around the bubble, put like glitter on it. I did like the Post Malone face tattoos on it. Just like random art like that. But I like doing like just random creative stuff. You want to be a bra and hold boobs all day, man. I don't know if Miss Birdie's watching. Thank you. Yeah. And I don't even know how I came up with that idea, but that's just like, I don't know. I saw that on Amazon. I'm like, what if I like made that look different? So, anyways, let's move on to Lucy in the Sky's Hive Mind Find, because that'll get us back on track with the theme today. And Lucy in the Sky had said, this whole Othram thing is beyond disturbing. Using DNA in this way as a primary and potentially only means to solve a case instead of a final check result after all the evidence points the way to persons of interest can go very wrong. The science is still too new. Even the DNA methods used for decades now result in many false convictions, in my opinion, because forensics hopped on that technology while it was still too new, just like they're about to do with this. Using the Chapins to tell their story, get everyone all weepy with the fear propaganda of it, could be one day be your kid. And what if by then, with labs like Othram, their tragedy would be solved first day? They are saying without saying, people lobby your congressman, investors open your purses. I have no one to discuss this with either. We have the Hive, Lucy in the Sky. But sadly, this is how I feel about the Chapin Othram pairing. My fear is it is about to be a new police state era where bad cops find it easier to be. So let's just place this DNA here on the doorknob and good cops can become lazy. Why chase out evidence if you can wait on DNA results and threaten your suspect / dependent into a plea deal? That is ultimately what we just watched happen. And if we think about this, so before the stream, I was thinking, okay, I'm not against solving crimes. I had somebody on the short that I posted saying, like, you're completely going against what Othram has been doing. They've been solving cold cases. I understand that. Solving crimes, solving cases that went cold using IgG as a last resort, there's nothing bad about that. It's the precedent that was set now moving forward with how it was used in this case that the entire world saw it on display. So to make it clear, I'm not against solving crimes. I'm not against, catching murderers or violent criminals. Of course not. But I am for rules that we can see. This thing called transparency kind of rhymed. But you have now, so we had geofence, historical cell data, IgG, call it online data. you had fusion centers, predictive models, you had like legal deletion or retention rules, zero transparency, and just an exceptional case power in this instance with the Idaho 4. And if you were a skeptic, it's like you would say, well, if you're innocent, you still care because errors happen. The guardrails will protect most of the innocent. But at the end of the day, you still need clean evidence. You know what's confusing to me is I don't understand how the legal system is so backed up. If 90 to 95% of cases end in a plea deal, how is there a backlog? Does anybody else think about that? If it's backed up now, how the hell would it be when all these cases would go to trial? It's only 5 to 10% going to trial and it's backed up. Help me understand that. I don't get it. And we have this thing called the Fourth Amendment as well when it comes to this. Like, you cannot have unreasonable search and seizures. You need probable cause, and it needs to be extremely particular. The other thing is, what happened to the guidelines that the FBI themselves laid out? Did this case just put it on display that the FBI doesn't give a shit? It's like rules for thee, but not for me. Is the FBI corrupt? Way more corrupt than we'd ever suspect? Because there seems to be a lot of blurred lines that are rather obvious over the last decade. A lot of not very transparent things that you would probably, as the FBI, for lines that are less blurred, open an investigation on that person for. I don't like it. You know, and there's going back to the jobs thing, because this is important. This is what I was going to make the full circle point of with staying up to date in your field of work. If you were to ask a cop, are you guys using any sort of predictive policing programs? Maybe if they're at or like a municipality or a jurisdiction that is in a pilot program, would they be able to explain it through and through, or would they only be able to explain what they've been trained on? And I'm not saying that everybody needs to become a master in it. That's an unreasonable task, of course. But do they know what's going on in the back end? So if the FBI is going to use Othram Labs for IgG, and we don't get to see the chain of custody and the state motions to seal that, does the FBI know what the chain of custody is? Or is the FBI saying, we don't care, we can't figure it out with the way that we were trained, so we got to go to you, and however you come up with it, we're going to take your word for it because you're the people that trained us. I agree. Good morning, everybody who's just tuning in. Yeah. Okay. So what are the requirements for being in the FBI? Let's see what this says. Because I've seen a couple people make comments about that you don't need to like. Yeah, cross training is extremely important. Yes, man, we did. Is it really just having a pulse? Let's see. You're good. You're good. You could go back and watch the first hour. We actually had an interesting discussion on people in the Hive's careers and then their dream jobs. Good morning, Laura. Yeah, that's true. All right. Baseline eligibility. Let's put this full screen for everybody. All right. Baseline eligibility, U.S. citizen. You have to be able to obtain a top secret clearance and pass a polygraph, urinalysis, and full background check. Public record in good standing, meaning you can't have any felony convictions. Your taxes are filed. Student loans not in default. Current on court ordered child support. No involvement in overthrowing the U.S. government. Hold on. That escalated so quickly. That just escalated extremely quickly. So did you guys hear that? It is your public record has to be in good standing, meaning you're not convicted of any felonies. You have to file your taxes. Your student loans can't be in default. If you have to pay child support, it's got to be current. And then it just goes, oh, and no involvement in overthrowing the U.S. government. Pause. Wouldn't you think that if you were involved in overthrowing the U.S. government, you would have a felony conviction? Is that not weird to anybody else? Or am I just thinking that sounds crazy? Right? That's weird. Yeah, going down the checklist here. You just think about all the identity effing shit they got going on and how they can F with you and how people can take advantage of you. Yeah. Yeah. It went from you got to have a heartbeat and a pulse to, hey, I really hope you're not a foreign intelligence asset. Being a spy would be badass. And it's probably Hollywood propaganda that's influencing my decision on saying that right now. Full transparency, but I love a good like double agent spy movie. I agree, Stone. Yeah, in a psychological sense. I knew what you were saying. All right. You have to, and if you want to be a special agent, this is the job that most people refer to when it comes to the FBI. You got to have a bachelor's degree in 2 years full-time professional work experience or advanced 1-year degree. You got to be 23 to 36 at the time of application. You got to enter the duty before 37. Veterans may qualify for an age waiver, and you need a valid driver's license. Medical and fitness, pass a medical review, vision, hearing, EKG, and the physical test. You have to be able to do 1 minute of sit-ups, 1 minute of sit-ups, and that's going to be pull-ups starting in November of 2025. A 300-meter sprint, push-ups. How many can you do continuous and on time? A 1.5-mile run. So you got to do a 352 under 52 seconds, under 64 for. So male is 52 seconds, female 64. The mile has a 1.5 mile at 12.5 minutes, or about 14 minutes. Does that seem kind of slow for a 1.5 miles? But then again, like how much are like special agents like chasing people? Like I've kind of talked about, like I I'm not a police officer, and this is not to offend police officers. I do think that it's very odd when you see somebody who is extremely, extremely out of shape. That is like, how are you able to defend the public? And it's not to be mean. It's just like, I'm not saying that you're not smart. I'm not saying that you're not savvy. I'm not saying you don't have a good shot. I'm not saying you don't know the law. But when it comes to like physical training, male or female, I do believe that the standards they should be maintained as you age to a certain standpoint. Like in college, this is the only time that I've ever ran from the police, and it was at an underage party. And I'm telling you, I looked at this cop and I was like, I know that if I run, there's no way that they're catching me. And that's what I did. That was probably the most non-law abiding thing that I've ever done. And it was at a house party. Yeah, I was gonna say like a mile. I if you do a mile in, well, I guess so that's an 8-minute mile. That's an 8-minute mile. Okay. 8-minute mile is I would deem you're in shape. So if you did a mile and a half, just start backpedaling, like finishing your beer as you run. All right. What are some? Wait, heads up. The FBI says pull-ups will replace sit-ups for all candidates starting November 2025. Train accordingly. It's interesting. Pull-ups are a pretty good true strength tester. The FBI also hires intelligence analysts and 200 professional staff roles: cyber forensics, accounting, engineering, role-specific education. You cannot be in the FBI if you're a non-U.S. citizenship, felony, or domestic violence, violating the drug policy, failing an FBI drug test, selective service issues for males with exceptions. What does selective service mean? What does that mean? Also, I type in all caps on purpose. I was messaging UFO Dog on Discord. She was like, "Stop yelling at me." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry. I'm used to it because I feel like I don't know if it's because I write in all caps, but I feel like I don't spell things as wrong without the spell check. It kind of bothers me." Sinful bitch. You were the second fastest female in track at 6.5. You know, funny story. In 8th grade, I wanted to do track, and I'd never done track before. And my dad and I went to the sporting goods store, and he bought me these like running shoes. And my dad goes, Are you going to do the entire track season? Because it was like encouraged to run track if you're going into high school, because a lot of like the football coaches, the freshman and JV football coaches coach the middle school track. So it was like a known thing, like you should go there, you can train, yada, yada, yada. Dude, I quit the second day after the 2-lap warm up. The second day after the 2-lap warm up, in my head, I'm like, I'm never coming back. I hated running. Track was something that I did not think it was at all. It's the only thing that I've ever quit in my life. And I remember being terrified to tell my dad, because he literally said, he's like, if I buy these, you're promising me that you're going to finish this out. And within 48 hours, I quit. So I had to do a lot of yard work to pay him back for those. I mean, at the time too, like, I think the track shoes, they were like $110. I think back, I'm like, damn, I wore them, so you couldn't take them back. When the FBI cares, the federal law bars executive branch agencies, including the FBI, from hiring a man born after who knowingly and willfully failed to register with selective service. Oh, so that must be for an age. Oh, so it's some sort of technicality. Anyways. All right. Tinfoil hat conspiracy of the day. Now, Hive, I'm sure most people in here are familiar with the term the New World Order, but a lot of people don't know how it became a thing. So it's a tinfoil hat conspiracy / history lesson. And in the 19th century and the 20th century, oil barons and bankers created a permanent global cartel, essentially. And the Rothschilds, who were extremely rich across Europe, and the Rockefellers, which were the oil barons, they allegedly fused money and energy control and then used think tanks and foundations as the, quote, respectable front end. They started having Bilderberg meetings and the trilateral commissions as late as the 70s, but in 1921 and 1954, those were two of the biggest meetings at the CFR. Central banks as the master lever. So in this narrative, they own or command central banks. A lot of people don't know that the Federal Reserve is not anything federal. It's a privately owned bank. So that would let them engineer the booms in the stock market, the busts, the crashes, the wars, any bailouts. And you're essentially, as a country, when you bring them in as a banking administrator, you're kind of handing them the keys to the car as an unelected global regime, aka the New World Order. They win a lot of people over with their philanthropy as policy capture. So they have big ticket donations, especially in public health, universities, global development. They're framed not as charity, but as soft power that steers the media, science, and politics without votes. And there's plenty of real evidence of this, obviously. And old money families and elite networks are extremely powerful. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, amongst a few other handful of family names, if you look at the amount of things that are still relevant in today's world that they have their hand in, it would blow your mind. We're talking laws, statutes, budgets, false flags. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that a lot of these feel the same, like they're recycled and they're relabeled because they're coming from the same, quote, company. They're the 1%. Did I know that I signed up for the draft at 18? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, again, that New World Order, it's not anything that people probably haven't heard of, but I think a lot of people just slap New World Order on as a conspiracy theory. It's like, oh, it's a New World Order. But anyways. Yeah, they own the world. Evil. What's the Hive's opinion on? Okay, this is a trippy thought. Okay, and full transparency, I'm stealing this question from a podcast that I was listening to, but I feel like this is a good group of people to ask this to. Let's say that modern science increases lifespan 2x, even 200 years. I know lifespan is not 100 years, whatever. Let's just say 200 years is the lifespan. Think of the billionaires and all of the, and I'm not even necessarily like, how do I say this? I'm not anti-success. I'm anti, you have billions of dollars, no matter what, what are you doing this for? And then it could be power. It could be like, hang on, why are you still like, what are you doing this for? Right? Like there's a bigger reason here besides just money. But if we lived to 200 years, the wealth that would be accumulated, I mean, think about, would there have to be a cap on that? And I thought that was a really thought-provoking question. Because think about how much wealth people are able to accumulate in, what is it, 70, 75, 74, whatever the average lifespan is right now. Now, I understand, you could say generational, yes, but there's also a lot of people that make a shit ton of money without having that generational wealth. I've thought to myself, when Mrs. Birdie and I have gone on vacation, we had a work trip out in Hawaii, like a president's trip. We went to Maui, and the company, like, they pay for a 4-day thing out there because you sold X amount. A lot of companies will do that. And we were like, oh my God, we need to go to Maui, like whatever it is. We looked up how expensive it is just for airfare in general, like what we would be paying. And it's like, this plane is packed. And you just start thinking, it's like, both Mrs. Birdie and I, we have full-time jobs. We don't have any kids. It's like we have the money to spend on just her and I. And we're like, we probably wouldn't spend this amount on a trip to Hawaii. And it's like the plane is packed. And then you go there, you go anywhere. You can go to any coastal part of a country around the world, and you just see these mansions. You can go to lakes. And it's like, I just want to be like, hold up a side, like, what do you people do? You know what I mean? It's like, what do you people do? Because it's like, I don't know. It's like, in my life, I don't know anybody at that level, but you go anywhere and you're just surrounded by it. We went to this basketball tournament with one of my buddies, and he said that when he was traveling down in the Florida area, he's a hardcore IU fan. So when you see me wear the Indiana jerseys, that's who I'm talking about. He'll travel around, and if Indiana's doing good, or if for March Madness, if they have a game somewhere, him and his wife will go and fly. He went there. He's an alumni there. But he got back and he was talking about like how motivated him and his wife were, because he's like, he saw this like yacht, and it was pinstriped. Like IU has the red and white stripes. He's like, dude, how sick would that be? He's like, I was just motivated. He's like, I couldn't believe how many yachts and how much money is out there. And there's like an abundance of it, but it's also like, yeah, we have, at the time, like, we have good sales jobs. If you have a good year, you make pretty good money. And it's like, everybody that doesn't necessarily work a job are those people. They're either business owners, maybe they did inherit wealth, they got lucky with something. But have you noticed that it's really never something that you are currently still trading your time for that money? And it's just mind-blowing. It goes back to the schooling of, like, I think it was Z had said, why don't they have a 2-year adulting phase where it's like taxes, investments, and how do you live, and how do you not F yourself over with a credit card when you're 19? That you'll be paying off till you're God knows how old, So it's like, how do they do? It's like, literally, like, what do you people do? And I've always found that interesting. So anyways, I hope that you all enjoyed that. I genuinely love these Friday morning coffee with the Hive, coffee with the chat, whatever we want to call it. We got to come up with a catchy name for this stream. Tomorrow, I'll be on at 10 a.m. Central, and Ms. Birdie and I are actually playing in a golf outing tomorrow. So we're excited for that. I don't want to go yet. I still have like 10 more minutes. I'm having fun chatting with everybody today. Your sons take classes on, I don't know if you meant to say Perfono? Finance management, much more. Wow. Where's that at? Yeah, these are great. The Swarm. The Swarm. Join the Discord. Well, yeah, and going back to it's like, are they in debt? I don't know. I mean, you see a lot of these gurus online that talk about, you know, a lot of people will use other people's money to make money and leverage debt. Well, that could go terribly wrong if you don't know how to do it. You live in upstate New York for that. That's cool. I feel like upstate New York's got to be such a cool place to live. I've never been to New York City. All right, UK Karen, thank you for tuning in. Stay safe. Zeitgeist series. I remember watching that shit in high school. Yeah, that's a good one. Well, anyways, Hive, as I say that, now I have to take a leak. So I am gonna bounce, but I'll be on tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. Thank you all for tuning in. I genuinely enjoyed this. And with that, Hive, I hope you all have a great Friday evening. Stay safe. Don't drive if you've had some beverages, and make sure you get an Uber. With that, I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. Cheers.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.